Welcome back to the Outlaws podcast. This is Ryan, and again, I am joined by Drew. We're going to give you the Week 4 power rankings after taking a week off last week. How are you doing today, Drew?
I'm doing good. I was a little surprised when I saw that you just kind of put up the written power rankings with no consultation from me. Just decided we weren't going to do it that week. Thanks for including me this week, though.
Well, I did give you a call last week. You didn't answer, but I didn't give you much time to call back. And honestly, it's a lot easier to do the power rankings when you're coming off of a big win. I'm not as excited to do them tonight.
Yeah, I was looking at your team stats earlier today. There's not a lot for you to be excited about. I assume that we'll get to your team very shortly.
Yeah, it'll be fairly shortly. Let's go ahead and jump into it. At number 10, we've got a new team in the last place spot in the power rankings. You know, I really didn't want to do it, but Michael Jordan has fallen all the way to 10th. And I really think that, in my heart of hearts, I probably feel that I like Michael Jordan's team better than Adams. But losing head-to-head, even though it was only 6-4, I feel like there's no way I could justify putting Michael Jordan anywhere higher.
That's interesting. Let's be clear, because I obviously have no idea what I'm talking about. I actually put Michael Jordan number 1 in my first preseason power rankings. I think it's just we've had 3 weeks and haven't really had a good week. This week was better than last week. Last week he was terrible against me, of course. But at least this week things got a little bit better. I guess, finally got that ERA below 4. and got the average over 300. But, everything was just pretty mediocre. But if you total up his first 3 weeks, not the start that Michael and Jordan were looking for.
No, he finally did get a couple of good signs over the weekend. I think, Will Myers hit a couple home runs yesterday. Santana hit one later in the week, although he did bat under 100 on the week. I think this team's better than how it's played so far. I don't think it's would be out of the question if they were to make the playoffs or anything like that.
Right. I mean, it's a bunch of middle-tier guys.
Right.
Majority of Longoria are towards the top end, but Longoria, I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like he's been sliding the last few years. And, it's evident he's been sliding. His draft price, this year was $27, and he used to be a $36, $37 player. So, bunch of middle-tier guys. At least he got something out of Ryan Howard this week with a 350 average, 4 runs, 2 homers, 4 RBIs. But other than him and Myers and Longoria with an okay week, I didn't get much else out of anybody.
Yeah, he did get a good week from Chris Sale on the pitching staff. He had a .57 whip and 10 strikeouts. I'm not sure if he had a 2-start week or not, but that's a great start if it's just one game. He did not record a win, but still, Homer Bailey finally had a good game today on Sunday. So it was the Cubs, but he had been horrible.
I said he didn't get anything out of anybody. I was really talking about just the
right.
Innings.
Yeah.
Obviously, he racked up the strikeouts this week, 95, and I think that was without a single pickup. I believe he's still at 3 pickups for the year. No, they did make 1 pickup. They're now at 4.
Man, they're really taxing him.
No, I was looking at waiver, 3 pickups on the year. That was without a single pickup. I guess Michael Jordan, they're trying to, take it easy a little early so that they can just, go through those pickups at the end of the season. Everybody's running down.
What are your thoughts on the long leash for Nick Castellanos?
Man, that is a long leash. I didn't even know who he was. If I ran into him in the street, I wouldn't know. I don't know what this guy looks like. Not much to say about that.
All right, moving on to number 9 in the power rankings. Don't have to look far. We can stay right here, the same matchup. I can't go any higher yet for you, Adam, than number 9. So you do move up a spot. You got your first win of the season, your first time to win, I think, more than a category. Didn't he lose both the first 2 matchups with only winning 1 category? And I don't know if that's true, but he only had 2 wins on the season coming into this week.
Right. Well, I mean, are you not tempted to bump him up any after the acquisition of Dallas Keuchel?
Dallas Keuchel, former Razorback, believe it or not.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the offense is still. I see some good names there, but 3 weeks in a row where it doesn't really blow you away. I don't know if he's gotten 7 home runs in a week yet. Tulo, I love Tulo, I love Trout, and I love Cano, but I don't know about Fielder. Considering how much some people are expecting out of him this year, I think he's going to be a disappointment. And I don't like some of those utility players, namely Curtis Granderson and Salvador Perez as a utility is kind of a weird thing there.
Right. Well, I mean, you got to give Adam. There was some encouraging signs. He did finally get a win this week after he was 2-16-2 over the first 2 weeks. So, trust me. For me last year, anytime I got 6 wins, I was happy with that roster I had last year, and he should be as well. Tulo, although he only had 1 homer, was plenty effective in the counting categories with 8 runs and 6 steals and 500 average. You'd like to see 2 or 3 or 4 homers there, but other than the homers, Tulo had a pretty solid week.
Yeah, I will say that these streaming pickups, and that's why I'm still pessimistic about this team, is that I don't see I know it worked this week. He had great pitching sets, a 2.74 ERA and 1.10 WHIP, but I just don't think he's going to be able to keep that up. If there's something positive to take away with the staff, it's Dan Herron and LaTroy Hawkins. They've both been really good so far. Jesse Chavez might be a decent pickup, although that's probably more of a matchup thing than for what he had last week. But I don't know. I've got a lot to be worried about with Adam in the long run.
I actually really like Chavez. I mean, I haven't actually watched him pitch, but I mean, what's not to like about what he's done so far? So, 1 earned run in each start, 9 Ks and 2 of the 3 starts. So, I really liked Chavez at this point. I actually went to the waiver wire to look for him and was sad to see that he was already gone. But there's definitely some fat on this team that needs to be trimmed. He did cut Jerko tonight, but still another hitter bench spot there, and I'll have to check and see what Granderson or Salvador Perez have been doing so far this year. I could be wrong. Well, it looks like Salvador Perez started in 80% of leagues. Considering he's got 2 catchers, I mean, he's got to get rid of one, right?
Yeah, I think he does, but he's obviously trying to stack up that hitting roster, and I even saw last week at times where he was. But this is when he had Billy Butler as his only first baseman. He would rotate Buster Posey to first base and put Perez in at catcher.
Oh, I believe that's what we would call Joey-esque, right?
I think so. Okay, let's move on to the number 8 team, and we led this off with the beginning of the show, how it wouldn't be too long before we got to my team, and that is where my team has fallen, at number 8.
Yeah, you might be a little high on yourself, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've had 2, complete Drew weeks from last year and 1 pretty good week. So it's been a hot and cold thing. Hopefully, I can turn it back on this week, but I'm not feeling too confident about it.
Yeah, forgive me as I have to scroll down to the bottom of the standings here to find you. Normally, I look for you in that top 5, but not so far. Yeah, 7-2 to Brad, who didn't really feel the need to start a few guys. The jokes were made about Alexi Ramirez. Hard to start him when he's off to a cold start, and that was a good joke by Nick. And he picks up Justin Masterson on a Thursday and for his start on Friday, and just forgets to put him in the starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Not even like he forgot to make a switch. Like there was literally an empty the pitcher, just blank.
Yeah.
So, very questionable. Giancarlo Stanton, what the? Come on, dude. Where was this last year?
I was going to ask you about him. He's got 26 RBI right now. 26. That's crazy because we're just 3 weeks into the season. Unbelievable. He's the number 1 player in fantasy, and believe it or not, we'll get to this in a second when we talk more about Brad's team. I guess we're talking about my team still, but I want to point out a few players on Brad's team when we get to him.
Oh, that's right. I started talking about Brad's team. Sorry, when we're talking about bottom 3 teams, I'm used to talking about Brad. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's see here. You didn't have a single player on your team that had more than 3 RBIs.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here, 21 RBIs. I mean, yeah, this is a total Drew week right here. average is a little low for a Drew team, but and 3 homers is a little high for a Drew team. But, yeah, just a whole lot of nothing, you know. I know you were all over Jason Worth after that last week, and this week he was dead silent.
Well, yeah, and I do have to point something out with Worth. He had a start against Jose Fernandez this week. I had those extra bench spots. I decided to bench him, and he goes out and hits a 3-run home run that game.
Oh, okay. Well, obviously that's not showing up here.
Mm-hmm.
At least looks like that didn't cost you. Actually, I guess that would have cost you a run, potentially, and it could have been 3-7, but.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what to say about it. I mean, I guess probably the biggest positive I can say is Irvin Santana's been worth every bit of that $41 waiver dollars you spent on him so far.
Yep, there it is, one of the lone bright spots with my team. I guess we'll just go ahead and move on to number 7.
Okay, I will say I don't really get Strasburg right now.
Well, he got blown up by the Marlins early in the week. Then he had a pretty nice start against the Cardinals today. So this guy's just a head case. He's got the talent to shut down a good offense, but you can never know what to expect from him. He's kind of like R.A. Dickey in that sense.
Oh gosh.
And that's never a good thing.
No, it's not.
All right, moving on to number 7. We can stay here at the same matchup. I only could get Brad up to number 7. So as I looked a little bit deeper into Brad's team just a minute ago, he has the number 1, the number 2, and the number 3 players in fantasy. Giancarlo Stanton's number 1, Freddie Freeman number 2, Alexi Ramirez, who I don't even know if he started yet, at number 3.
Yeah, poor Alexi. I mean, what do you got to do to make it into the starting lineup? I don't know. Hopefully, Brett is done with any kind of military things he's got going on, and he can get back and focus on the real important things in life. But I don't know what to say about that. That's just typical Brad, and it's just ironic that these sort of things usually happen the weeks he plays you, and we all know he'll probably burn 4 pickups both times he plays me. But
yeah, that's mainly the reason why I was afraid to move him up higher, is because of this situation he's in right now, and the fact that he hadn't been setting his lineup. He missed 2 starters this week. He also missed Zach Wheeler. Turns out it didn't affect the matchup at all, because he still won wins, and he would have lost strikeouts anyway. Right.
Okay, so he escaped that, but not a good sign that we're only in week 3. And I mean, what is this? If we expect Brad's team to go the way it usually goes, if he can't set his lineup in week 3, I mean, what's going to happen if he falls out of contention?
I know. It's a good point.
Somebody who's fighting for.
And the fact of the matter is that I think this is actually a really good team for the most part. Miguel Cabrera hasn't even really done much this year. He could be the best.
Really.
And we already mentioned some of those other players that are starting off the season real well. And he's getting Iwakuma back pretty soon, in a couple weeks maybe. So, CC Sabathia, everybody was joking about him on opening night in America, and he's actually pitched pretty good ever since that first game against the Astros.
I think he had a couple bad starts after that, actually, but his last 2 have been really good.
Yes, and AJ Burnett, he's looking okay too. I mean, it's not a great staff by any means, but it's better than what Adams got, that's for sure. And the lineup, I think, is probably better than Adams too.
Yeah, although Adams, when you start at the catcher and go down to the first outfield, it's just loaded with stars. But I don't know. I'm confused. So did he leave Jose Fernandez out of his lineup this week?
No, he started Fernandez I think it was on Wednesday. He had 10 strikeouts, and are you seeing the ERA at 0? That was an unearned a 3-run shot. There's an error during that inning.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that's looking at.
All right, let's move on to number 6. At number 6, I have got Little Ben. Little Ben
all right.
did everything he could. He turned things around a little bit and was able to tie the hottest team in fantasy, arguably, yourself. So a 5-5 tie with Tugboat. He did cost himself a category, perhaps. You could correct me if I'm wrong on that, but would Aaron Harang, would that have started to change anything?
No, it didn't. I won by 13 strikeouts, and I believe Harang had 6 or 7. So.
Oh, you're right. And he won ERA and whip and wins. It wouldn't have made a difference, I don't believe.
So that he put up a decent week. The average, he just started out so far in the hole in average. He actually had a pretty good weekend. He was down, I think, 6-2 in homers, and I think he hit 6 homers over the last 2 days to make RBIs close and actually surpass me in homers. So able to get the tie, and the pitching staff clearly had its best week of the season so far. Thanks for that. But
no, let's be honest. When you made that joke about Michael Morse and how this isn't spring training 2011 again, were you a little worried that he might come back and hit a home run after that?
It always happens when I say stuff like that. Like it always happens, whether it's Chris Anderson or whatever. There's just multiple instances of me opening my trap and then getting burned.
Yeah,
I fully expected Morse to hit a homer after I said that. And of course, about 3 hours later, he sure does. And one thing that really saved them was the Ryan Braun Jason Grilli matchup this week.
Mm-hmm.
Braun had 2 of his 3 homers against Grilli, which obviously upped my ERA a little bit, cost me 2 saves, and it gave them 2 homers that helped them get a category. So it's interesting. That's one of those things about fantasy baseball where even though it's a week long, you can just look at 2 or 3 plays or 2 or 3 at bats and how they can cause a matchup to be drastically different. It could have been 7-3 for me, for example, if that had gone differently. So congratulations to Ben. Best pitching week of the year, but I honestly wouldn't expect this to continue. I'd expect him to be in the high 3s on average the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think I probably agree with you there. I look at the staff is improved ever since he traded for Sonny Gray and Tehran. I like Tehran and Tanaka and Sonny Gray. Weaver, he's kind of hit or miss from week to week, but what really made him strong in pitching this week was the bottom half of the rotation. Guys that pitch really well, like Jason Vargas. I know you probably were hoping for at least a run to be scored upon him. Tyson Ross didn't give up a run either. So those guys really helped keep his ERA and whip down low.
Yeah, I've always had a healthy respect for Vargas. He helped me almost make the playoffs when I was 16 years ago, and I'm gaining respect for Ross. I don't think I'll ever be able to respect him as much as Ben does, but I've got respect for these guys. But it's just I don't know.
One guy on Ben's team that I was disappointed when I saw that he was added because I was really thinking about picking him up was Tim Hudson. And this guy is just as consistent as anybody in baseball.
Yeah, I'm a fool for not picking him up earlier in the season. I guess I was trying to keep the average age of my team down, and he just is always, he won't be this good the rest of the season, but I think he'll definitely be ownable the rest of the season. I don't think Hudson will be cut anytime soon, but good for him for bouncing back after having that horrific injury last year. And, he's a former member of Team Brigma. I wish him all the best.
All right, let's move on to number 5. Making his way into the top half of the power rankings for the first time this season is the defending champion. Run, Billy, run. It's Derek.
Okay.
So we got Derek at number 5. He pulled off a pretty impressive upset. I won't say that statistically it was all that impressive, but he did beat Nick, which is, not an easy task. And I guess he was strong in a few categories, but the ones that he was bad in, he was really bad in. He had 38 runs, which is great. Just 19 RBIs, though. 13 steals, a 300-plus average, 7 wins. You love all that. 0 saves, though, a 131 whip. So he had some ups and downs this week, but it was enough to beat Nick.
I don't think I've ever seen such drastic difference in runs and RBIs.
Yeah, that is strange.
Crazy. I guess when you've got an Elvis Andrews and Billy Hamilton.
Yeah.
The rest of these guys, I guess Solarte to an extent. I guess Alex Gordon beat that leadoff as well. But yeah, that's something you don't normally see. 13 steals. Elvis with 5 this week. That's good to see. And then Hamilton's he's run Billy run. He's running now. So
yeah. So that's very surprising to see Andrews running that much. If he's going to be a 40 steal guy again, then he might have been a little undervalued. Although he's not really going to do a whole lot else for you. looking at this team, I mean, I think what stood out to me this week is that the Cardinals pitchers got back on track. Shelby Miller and Lance Wynn combined for 3 wins and 30 strikeouts, and both had an ERA of under 1 when they both had 2 start weeks.
Yeah, that was just. I was looking at that. I mean, honestly, I didn't pay much attention to this matchup. Sorry, guys. But, yeah, so when you see Lance Lynn and Shelby Miller up there at the top of the lineup, those are some pretty crazy looking numbers right there.
Yeah, so, got to give Derek his respect. He is the defending champion. I wouldn't say that I'd be afraid of him just yet. It's hard to be afraid of a team that has, Solarte as your third baseman, but I don't know. I'm sorry. That
You're
name,
talking
that
to a
name
guy
just.
who has Bonifacio, so I can't really talk.
That's true. Well, yeah, I guess you do have an injury, and I guess he's got Machado who's out as well. So maybe we'll have some reinforcements coming that can help him out in that department.
Right.
All right, number 4. Got to move Little Shimmer up a spot. Brandon at number 4.
Okay.
So this week, let's see. Brandon played Big Ben. He actually lost 6-3, but statistically, he wasn't all pitching wise. I'll say he was pretty good. Hitting was kind of ugly, but I thought it was worth moving him up. First of all, to hop me where I was, and second of all, it looks like a lot of these guys aren't going to be out too long. Beltre might be back in about a week. And I feel like he had somebody else that was on the verge of coming back. I can't think of who it was. Oh well.
Can I talk? I got distracted just for a second. I'm sorry. Derek still owns Jim Henderson.
Yeah, right. He's got 0 saves for the last week, and I saw that he also picked up Jim Johnson. He's obviously going for speculative guys. I don't know. Derek usually knows what he's doing in that regard, but that is weird that he's currently got 2 setup men on his roster.
I'm sorry, I just looked at that and I was distracted, and I'm like, it's been 3 weeks. It's been K-Rod since day one. Time to maybe cut bait here. But
yeah, and K-Rod, talking about pickup of the year, arguably so far. He's got like seven saves.
I was going to say, speaking of K-Rod, on Andrew Manessa's team, how many saves does he have? I don't know, he has like 6 or 7 or something.
Yeah, he got his 7th today. He had 3 in the last 3 games over the weekend. Saved in all 3 games over the Pirates.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm looking at Brandon's team. He does. I'm still a little concerned about the brothers Shimmer and the way that they're willing to just go through pickups like it's no big problem. And I'm not talking about streaming. I'm talking about picking up Evan Gattis for 2 days or Adam LaRoche for a day and stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like with a hitter, if you're picking him up, you usually want to give him about a week or so.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, just a quick distraction. Yeah, K-Rod. 7 saves, 0 ERA, .56 WHIP, 13 Ks. I don't know what's going on. Enjoy it while it lasts. But yeah, that was a great pickup, and D. Gordon was, he's been a solid pickup so far. But yeah, the picker hit.
I'm sorry, I do remember the guy that came back was Jose Reyes, so he's already activated. That's why I couldn't find him. So he's got Reyes back, and Beltre will be back in about a week. That's big time for this team. This team is going to be hot or cold from time to time. That's just what happens when you've got Trumbo and Alvarez on your team. So this was kind of an off week for him, and I think he'll probably bounce back a little bit next week.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's pretty good. The pickups are a little concerning, but honestly, this week wasn't anything to write home about. It actually was kind of a quite poor week, so we obviously penalized him a little bit. I think we might have had him as high as maybe.
I think we had him at like number 2 to begin the year.
Yeah, after the revisions, had him at number 2. But pitching staff has been solid. 2.83 ERA, nice. Didn't get
when you look at his rotation, do you think that's sustainable?
Well. No.
Yeah, cause that's what I was thinking. I was looking at those stats, and I looked down. I'm like, I love Wainwright, obviously. Kershaw's on the DL. He'll be back in, a few weeks, I guess. But other than that, I like Pineda, okay. Tillman finally had a bad start. The rest of these guys, I just don't know about them, really.
Yeah, I can't see how many of these guys, so I guess I could click on his team page.
And they obviously pitched decent this week, or his ERA and all that wouldn't be so low.
Right, and that was in spite of Kimball. Not often that you see Kimball with a for the week, a 27 ERA, a 6 WHIP, no saves, and 1 strikeout. So, despite that, very good pitching numbers from this week, but not enough against the beast of Big Ben.
All right, let's keep it with the Shimmer theme, and at number 3, we've got Nick. Nick fell another spot from 2 to 3 this week, and Nick had his first loss of the season to Derek, and it was kind of his first off week as well. So, what do you think about that spot for Nick? You think it's about right, or too high or too low?
Probably too high, honestly. I mean, Nick hasn't done anything really in the first. I mean, I love you, but hasn't really done anything the first 3 weeks. Hitting wise, he's done nothing the first 3 weeks. And I'll have to check his records in the hitting categories, but he only won 1 hitting category this week. Pitching staff has been pretty solid all week. Got unlucky, lost Ks by 1. Well, I guess we shouldn't say unlucky. He got.
Yeah, I don't know if it can say unlucky because I don't even think Derek picked up a pitcher of the stream this week, and I know Nick did pick a couple up at least.
Yeah, I guess it's just disappointing. But I mean, the hitting lineup's just not getting it done right now. As I look at his head-to-head stats here, what's his team name again? I'm sorry.
The Walking Dead.
It's not really his record's not actually that bad in the hitting category. So
just scratch everything you said the last 2 minutes. I'm just kidding. No, I kind of agree with you. I don't think it's too high or too low. I think it's about right, but obviously they're my rankings, and I'm just throwing these on you as we do this. But the trades for Beltran. Yeah, the trade for Beltran. He's been playing really good, and I'm looking at his stats, and I feel like I wonder if Nick benched him again this week because I thought he had better stats than that. I know he hit a home run the other day. But first of all, I guess we'll talk about it after the show, but I do want to get your take on, not after the show, but after we do the power rankings, your take on that trade, the David Wright and Prince Fielder trade, but we'll talk about that after the show.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, looks weird seeing Mike Napoli at first base. That's about all I can say with the offense. Pitching, arguably one of the best in the league, if not the best. Love Waka. Cashner's better than I expected, and obviously he's got Jordan Zimmerman and Felix Hernandez, 2 of my favorites.
Right, yeah, it is the best staff in the league, but I don't. Have we had a team win a title like this since? We haven't
since Michael.
Since Michael, yeah, I think Michael's the only guy that was the exception of the rule. Everybody else had, nice power numbers, and Nick clearly doesn't have that yet 3 weeks into the season.
Yeah, I agree. We got a long way to go. Nick isn't afraid to shake things up, but we also know that he does make some good trades at times, but sometimes he'll make one of those trades that can set him back. So we'll see which path he takes this season.
You gotta love that he's not scared, though. He's clearly not scared, and he's compared to the rest of the league, he's fairly easy to trade with.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, at number 2, we've got a new team moving up at number 2, and it is you, Drew, at number 2, and it's coming off a week where you did not win for the first time. You didn't lose. You tied 5-5, but just kind of by default, you moved up to number 2, another strong week.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I've won 1 week so far in 3 weeks, and somehow I'm number 2 in the power rankings. But I can't really disagree with you on this. I'm pretty. I mean, I'm still pretty happy. I feel like in week 1 against Nick and this week, both weeks, I put up pretty solid numbers across the board. Kind of gotten a little luckier as far as, my opponent struggling a little more. Unfortunately, Little Ben's staff had their best week of the year, and couldn't hold on to homers, lost homers for the first time this year, which by this point last year I'd already lost it 3 times. So, I don't know what to say. I mean, I should probably save this for you, but
yeah, I'll just talk about your team. A couple things that have stood out to me so far is, first of all, Albert Pujols. I mean, this guy.
Oh, that a boy!
This is making me a little mad after I hung on to him for 2+ months last year, and he's pretty much already outproduced what he did for my team at that point. The power stroke is there. What does he have? 6 home runs already? I think he's tied for the league lead in home runs. He's even hitting for a decent average now. I think it's just below 300 on the season. So that stands out to me a lot. Other than that, offensively, everybody's doing well. Your pickups in Blackman and Bonifacio, I don't know if they're going to last throughout the whole year or anything, but they're definitely red hot right now, and you ride them until they cool down.
Right, yeah. Now, this is something that you wouldn't see a lot last year, but in my hitting lineup, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in the top 30 in rank. So
Wow.
that's not. I think last year I maybe had one guy in the top 100, and that was Ellsbury. So very, very nice to see that. Very happy with Pujol. So it just looks sweet whenever he gets a hold of one. He's got a great swing.
Now, your pitching was good this week. A 3.03 ERA and a 1.14 WHIP. It wasn't enough to win the matchup, but I feel like it could have been worse. It's not every day that you get some excellent starts from Josh Beckett and Jonathan Neese.
Yeah, it was sitting around 3.5 this morning, so it's just okay. Unfortunately, well, not necessarily unfortunately, but just wastefully, both of them had pretty good starts, which really didn't do a whole lot for my matchup. But good to see. I might give Beckett another shot next time. And Porcello was he was borderline getting cut, and he's bought himself a little more time on the team. So as you can see this week, this was the week where I decided I wasn't afraid to let some of these old guys go. So
yeah, I was going to ask you about that before we moved on. R.A. Dickey, Bartolo Colon, two of the oldest and two of the, obviously the fattest player in the league, and Bartolo Colon. Do these guys have a chance of getting picked up again next week or what?
Absolutely.
Which one is the stronger? I know Dickey's got a 2-start week. Are you going to pick him back up?
No, not at all. And I believe Dickey's 2 starts were against Baltimore and Boston. So
yeah, but isn't he matchup proof? I think ESPN has him as a top 40 pitcher.
He's matchup proof in the way that he sucks against everybody. So matchup doesn't really. He gave up 5 runs to the Astros last week. So
yeah,
not afraid to let him go. But if they get hot, honestly, Cologne didn't deserve to go. I wouldn't be surprised if Cologne got picked up. He had one really bad start against the Angels, but he had some back problems during that start, or so they say. So I really just cut him to get a couple streamers in to block in strikeouts. But
yeah.
Overall picture, I'm happy. I wish my record was a little better at this point, but I'm still aiming for the bye. But obviously, anything higher than the 6th seed for the first time in 3 years, and I'll be happy at the end of the season.
Yeah, if you can keep putting together strong weeks like this, without Josh Hamilton and Zimmerman in the lineup, that's pretty crazy how good your team can be when those guys come back.
Yeah, we keep coming back to the same question, though. I'm going to have Zimmerman and Hamilton in the DL for 6 weeks. Can I avoid another big name going down in the next 6 weeks? We'll see what happens, but that's going to be really key because I already let Latos go, which it's turned out that really wasn't that big of a deal because he looks like he could be out a while. But I'd hate to let any other big name guy go just because I had way too many players on the DL.
Yeah, like if Johnny Cueto or something like that happened, that somebody that's too good to cut.
Cueto. Let's talk about him for a second. That's probably my best move of the draft because I sat there with my $11 left and I had 6 picks left, or no, maybe 4 or 5 picks left, and I decided that's it. This is the guy I really want. I'm dropping 8 of my 11 on him and going $1 players the rest of the way, and he's been very kind to me so far.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt he's always dominant when he pitches. It's just a matter of if he's going to stay, healthy and getting his starts in. It was actually me that was going up with you in that start, and I think it's funny that you mentioned that he is probably your best pick now because right after I think in the post-draft interview, you said that was maybe your worst pick of the draft for the reason that it put you at the dollar bids.
Big surprise, I was wrong.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on. Final team at number 1, I guess it's no surprise, but for the second straight week, I've got Big Ben there, winning 6-3 this past week over Brandon.
Yeah, can't deny that. I guess it's a 3-game winning streak for Big Ben.
Yeah, Big Ben's. He'll be. Will he be number 1 in the actual standings as well?
I believe so. I believe he is number 1. when the standings update tomorrow, yeah, he'll be half a game ahead of Nick.
Okay, so he'll be number one in both the power rankings and the standings. Put together another solid week all the way across. 34 runs, 9 homers, 29 RBIs, 6 steals. Pitching stats are good, 2.64 ERA and 1.19 WHIP, and he beat a quality opponent. I don't really know what else to say. Even to make matters worse for the rest of the league, he's about to get 2 guys back. He's about to have, who are they? Cole Hamels is going to be back this week, and Aroldis Chapman will be back in a few weeks, and also he has got George Springer in his lineup now, who a lot of people think could be the most important prospect that's going to get called up this year. And, I'm a little skeptical of that because of the Astro factor. I don't really know what kind of upside you can have being on that horrible team. But he did hit like 37 home runs and 45 steals in the minors last year among Double and Triple A.
Right, yeah, I heard that. Hold on, I'm looking at. Okay, never mind. I was looking at Big Ben's team today, and he left a home run from Nelson Cruz on the bench, and I was trying to see if there were any X's in his starting lineup, but looks like everybody played. They just nobody did anything today. But anyways, I've never seen this before. By the way, on a Sunday, he went 9 for 42 today. 1 run, 1 homer, 3 RBIs, all for the same guy, Josh Donaldson. So.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I did notice. I guess he maybe decided to bench Cruz because he didn't know if he's going to start or not tonight. But
even if he had left an empty spot in his starting lineup, Easter Sunday, I guess you got to make the exception there.
And one positive thing about this team is this is a guy that I just cannot stand the last few years, and this could be a big tease once again. I mean, he did this last year, but Justin Upton currently ranked in the top 10. Do you think he keeps it up for once?
Oh Lord, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what happened last year. I mean, he just, oh my gosh, was he even like a top 200 player after April last year?
I don't think so.
I mean, that was just ugly. But obviously, yeah, great start, ranked number 6 right now in all of fantasy, and that's surprising. Now, I will be interested to see who does Big Ben play next week.
I don't know. Let me check that out real quick. One guy while I'm looking that up is I gotta ask you. There's 2 pitchers in baseball right now that are 4-0. One of them is Lance Lynn. The other is a guy that has a sub-1 ERA. His name is Mark Burley. What are your thoughts?
I've always had kind of a soft spot for Burley, but definitely he definitely had a great second start of the season, and then I haven't really looked at his numbers since then. But I'm happy for him. But Burley's going to come back to bite you eventually. But no more so than R.A. Dickey. So I wish you luck with that one. But the reason I brought up, I was wondering who Big Ben was playing next week, just because. And I guess this is something I should ask you. Do you think Gomez could get suspended for a few games?
Yeah, I think he could. Honestly, I hadn't seen the entire video and what all happened, but I think that could happen. But that's the benefit of playing in a daily league versus a weekly league, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. Plus, he has bench spots, but still, Gomez is other than Justin Upton, he's probably been one of his better players so far, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think so. And he's playing Nick next week, so that's a big matchup. They got the number 1, number 3 teams in the power rankings, top 2 teams in the standings, so that's a big matchup.
Yeah.
And sadly, I guess I got to say that might be the matchup of the week instead of our matchup.
Oh man,
that hurts. I definitely wouldn't have thought that last week. I was coming off a big win, and things are different now. I'm still above 500, but I don't deserve to be.
Let's break down the matchups this week. You got me versus you. That's obviously, we have suspensions and everything. And
give me your win probability. We'll give win probabilities for each team. I'll let you do that. Win probability, our matchup.
What percent chance that I win?
Mm-hmm.
I would probably say 66.
All right, and what about for Nick and Big Ben? Who do you think wins that matchup? And I know that you haven't had a chance to map out all the 2-start guys, so.
Right, yeah, that's a given. I'll go with Big Ben, 60.
Okay, and Derek versus Michael and Jordan.
I'll give Derek I'm going to be boring here. I'll give Derek a 55% chance.
Okay, you're keeping it in the 60s. Interesting. Andrew Maness, Brandon versus Brad, who I'm a little worried that he might not even get to the inning limit this week if he keeps this up.
I'll go. I don't really want to. Brad had such a nice hitting week that I really want to give Andrew Brandon S too much. I'll say Brandon wins, but I'll give him a 60% chance winning.
And I could sense the hesitation in that because these are both two managers that you've always been very reluctant to give any praise to whatsoever.
Yeah, I hate that I have to pick one of them to win.
And the last matchup of the week, we've got Tugboat versus America.
Yeah, so Little Ben, give him a 75% chance to win.
All right. Well, that concludes the top 10 power rankings. There's a few more things I want to get to as we're at the 41-minute mark. I'd like to wrap this thing up pretty soon.
Sure. Just let me say something. You didn't let me get to say it. This should have been rivalry week because it's me versus you, obviously, heated. It's Nick versus Big Ben, obviously the Cabot connection, number 1 and number 2 in the standings. You had Derek versus Michael Jordan. That's our last two champions going head to head. You got Andrew Maness and Tweaks Powerhouse. You know, the battle of the two questionable managerial positions. And then at the last spot, you've got Ben versus Adam. You got the guy who kicked Adam out of the league versus Adam. So I just think this probably would have been a pretty decent fit for rivalry week. So I'm hoping there's a lot of smack talk on the boards this week.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And the good thing about this league is that there's so much history between all the managers that you could almost make any week rivalry week.
That's true.
All right, so a couple things I want to get to. I've got a few scrub moves of the week. We'll save that for last. Let's talk about that trade. David Wright and Billy Butler. They were both sent from Adam's team over to Nick in exchange for Pablo Sandoval and Prince Fielder. Who do you think won that trade?
I like the Fielder Sandoval side.
Yeah, man, it's just. I'll be honest. These are all four of these guys are guys that I was almost 90+% sure that I wasn't going to draft, so it's kind of hard for me to gauge it. I feel like all in all that this is about as fair of a trade as you could have. If I had to pick a side, I think I would slightly prefer the David Wright and Billy Butler side, but that's just because I have to pick. I think it's a fair trade.
Billy Butler's just inconsequential to me, and everyone's got the first base depth, but ball when he plays, third. I don't want to overstate it, but third base is important. It can be a weak position, although we thought that it wasn't quite as weak as all the so-called fantasy experts were saying it was going into the year. But it's still an important position to fill. And while I think that Nick has done well in all his other trades, I think I prefer Adam's side in this trade, but not so much that it's going to make me think any less of Nick's team.
All right, and saving it for last, I've got the scrub moves of the week. I've got 5 in no particular order. Number 1 of the week, I've got it for Big Ben. I always like to give him on this list. He routinely makes this list. And it would have to be Big Ben accepting... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, if Jerry West is the logo for the NBA, Big Ben should be the logo for scrub moves of the week. I'm just saying.
And this one is a little different. It's not so much what he did with his actual team. It's the fact that he accepted that trade. Mark Trumbo for Matt Carpenter.
This guy just has issues. I mean, I think we remember a couple years ago the whole Peyton Hillis situation.
I never sent you that trade, I swear.
I mean, my gosh, log on to...
All right, and as we're talking about that, there's a difference between sending somebody a trade than just accidentally accepting a trade. He sent me that trade and I accepted it. He says he never did it or accidentally did it or something.
Right. I mean, I don't know if I believe that, but that is a worse offense. So what happened this week was a slightly less offense, but I just kind of looked at that email when I got it, read it, and shook my head and thought, I'm really not that surprised.
Yeah, it was kind of a funny moment. And that, I was thinking about when you brought up Hillis, That was also week 1. Nobody thought that was going to even matter. That was the year that earned Peyton Hillis the Madden cover. So that would have changed my team a lot. Anyway, back to the baseball league.
Right, it was Peyton Hillis for Legadoo Nane.
Yes, it was. That's it. Oh man, that hurt. Okay, number 2 on the scrub moves of the week. I've got Little Ben for benching Aaron Harang, but as you pointed out, it actually did not end up costing him anything in this matchup. So he dodged a bullet right there.
Yeah, it's a scrub move nonetheless. You know, he said that he checked it a couple times, and this is very unlike Lil Ben, but as we all know, he might have some distractions right now. Maybe internet slow in the particular part of Fort Worth or Dallas or wherever he is right now. So I don't know if they have viewers down there or whatever, but obviously life is his days might be a little busier right now. So
this is the third podcast we've done where we've mentioned Ben in a different city, and I'm just beginning to wonder if the people in the league think that we're just throwing out random areas of America. But no, he has actually moved to Phoenix, then moved to Colorado, and then now he is located in the greater Dallas area.
And when we record it next week, the podcast next week, he'll probably be back in Home Sweet Home, Little Rock. So that'll be an interesting story to follow there. But scrub move, no doubt.
All right.
And we could talk about some other aspects of this trip that he took and talk about some scrub moves he made there, but I guess now not the platform for that.
Yeah, hopefully one day he'll be willing to do that. Okay, the number 3 scrub move of the week, keeping up with the same theme. 2 more bench starters for Brad. Brad benched Justin Masterson right after he just picked him up, and then he benched Zach Wheeler today on Sunday. It didn't affect the matchup, but scrub move nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, I think I already covered it earlier. I don't want to get into it too much again, but
shaking your head. It's we'll just say that it's not surprising.
No, not at all.
Scrub move number 4 of the week. I have to give this one to myself. Second appearance on the list this season in as many weeks we've done it. I benched Jason Worth. I saw the matchup against Jose Fernandez and it scared me. Second time I benched a guy against Jose Fernandez, and both times it came back to bite me. Chase Utley had a good game against him a couple weeks ago, and Jason Worth had a 3-run homer, cost me half the category.
I guess the extent of this scrub move was, who was your replacement?
I believe it was Torrey Hunter.
Okay.
And number 5, and the final scrub move of the week. And this one was actually pointed out by Nick on the message board, so thanks for pointing this out and your own scrub move. Nick picked up Adam LaRoche, never started him, cut him, and lost strikeouts by 1. All right.
I mean, Brandon did the same thing with Utley in the first couple weeks, and we pointed that out. So, like I said, it doesn't seem like quite a big deal now, but when you get into late August and, Michael Jordan is using 4 pickups against you, and you're already at your max if you want to have any kind of pickups for the playoffs. Stupid stuff like that's gonna cost you. So I hope that Nick at least gets to stay pretty high in the standings, because if he keeps this up, he's not gonna have many pickups from week 16 to 21.
Over under 3 pickups for Nick this next week. Or do you think that's right at what he's gonna do?
Maybe he slows down a tick.
It's a matchup with Big Ben.
Well, that is a big matchup. I definitely know that I would be willing to go the extra pickup or 2 just to see my name on top of the standings.
Absolutely, yeah.
It just looks so good when it's at the top compared to anywhere else. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm gonna guess that he ticks it back just a little bit.
All right. Well, you got any closing thoughts before we finish this up?
But before we go, I just want to say that you mentioned your scrub move of the week for yourself was putting Jared Cozart on your watch list.
Yes.
On Thursday night, I sat there and went back and forth between who to stream, Jared Cozart or Jonathan Neese. And I was convinced I was going to go Cozart. And just because, I don't know, I just kind of like him. But, oh my goodness.
Dodged a bullet. No, I guess I don't even know if it would have really affected your matchup, but it would have made your stats look a lot worse.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you want to keep that ERA, your season ERA and WHIP low because somebody like Ryan is going to start mentioning later in the season about where you rank compared to the rest of the league for your season ERA. So, I was definitely happy that I was able to avoid that particular bullet.
All right, just one last question for you before we go. How many minutes of NBA playoffs have you watched this weekend?
About 7. I watched the end of the Dallas-San Antonio game, and then while I was waiting for my brother to get dressed to go golfing, I caught a little bit of Bobcats Heat today.
Wow, thrilling matchup.
Yeah, well, and they were actually up for a while, and I got the Rockets. Actually, I don't know if it counts as my minutes, but I've got the Rockets up right now, although I haven't been watching it. But I did look up just in time to see Dwight Howard have a couple cheap elbows. So it looks like, even though I missed almost this entire NBA season, it looks like not much has changed.
Yeah, I think everybody's just ready to get to the next round and see, those matchups at the juggernauts, Thunder Spurs, whenever that matchup occurs, and those kind of matchups. I don't care about the Bobcats and the Heat.
I care about Dallas San Antonio. I was really disappointed about what happened today because Dallas led that whole game.
Whoa, I thought you were a big Spurs fan.
Oh, shut up.
I know you love Manu and Tim.
Well, I know you're pulling for OKC in the West, so it would certainly make things easier for OKC if the Spurs could get upset before the Western Finals. So, by the way, quick little bit trivia.
Okay.
This is going off the walls here, but I don't know if you listened to Mike and Mike this week, but the Spurs have the longest current active streak at making the playoffs. They've made the playoffs the last 16 seasons. Who do you think has the second longest active streak at making the playoffs?
The second longest active streak. Let me think about that for a second.
Well, take your time. It's not like we're recording or anything.
I know. I'll try to give you a quick answer here in a second.
You're Googling.
I guess I'll go. I'll just say Mavericks.
It's not the Mavericks. They missed last year, I think.
Bulls.
It's not Bulls. I think if I gave you 8 guesses, you wouldn't get it.
Really?
It's the Atlanta Hawks.
Really? I guess they haven't missed it since they pretty much got Joe Johnson. That's very surprising.
Yeah, I think they've made it the last 7 seasons, and that's the second longest active streak. So, anyways, this basketball segment was brought to you by, Sinister Minister Academy or whatever. I'm so sorry that we don't have commercials so far. Do you think that's something that we might be able to get going here soon?
I think so. That probably takes a lot more effort than actually doing the recording of the show.
It is.
But it's also the most enjoyable part.
Right. Well, I know that I've got a little bit of a cold, so I apologize. I'm a little tired, but I apologize for my performance this week. But hopefully you'll invite me back next week instead of just posting the written power rankings out of the blue. So
we'll see. I feel like if we do these, bi-weekly, I feel like it has better listener listening. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I feel like more people will listen to it if we don't do them every single week.
Yeah, they're probably not listening now though. After my NBA trivia, that probably, or maybe something before. But anyways, it's going to be an intense week. A lot of good matchups. We got you and me this week. There's a good chance that I might say something or do something that causes us not to speak for a while. So just in case this is the last time I talk to you for a week, have a good week, and I don't know what I'm doing. Happy Easter to everybody.
All right, I'll talk to you later. See ya.